Welcome to Alert Tales, where we dive deep into the most gripping stories of real-life experiences. If you love tales that evoke emotion, spark conversation and connect us all, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our community for more captivating stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Last night I saw a kid being taken away by CPS. I work as a receptionist at a small rundown hotel, and I do from dusk to almost midnight. Last night was the third day in a row this lady was staying with her two kids, except this time only the older one remained, and there was a different lady. Those were caregivers, and the children were in the foster system. Earlier yesterday, the youngest one had been taken to a family member, but the older brother, I guess, was from a different dad, so they wouldn't take him. So my local CPS arranged to take him to an institute 4 hours from our hometown. Our local institute is closing down due to many reports of abuse and neglect. And these kids were there and got out. The older kid remaining, 12 years old, wanted to take the roll of toilet paper because he was scared he wouldn't even have that in the new place. The lady taking care of him told me she was sorry because she'd been in the system her whole life too. And she knew everyone had to fend for themselves and would end up running away and living in the streets, like she had. She said she was moved so many times for abuse, overcrowding or running away that she knows most of our country. I suppressed the tears and sneaked the child some of the complimentary soap and shampoo packets we leave in the room for guests. I had to hide it because there are cameras, and the owner is the kind of man that thinks he'll take his money with him once he dies. I've gotten in trouble for using the coffee machine that's in the kitchen for employees only, so imagine what he's like. Then the crackhead that lives at the hotel heard about the kid and ran out to get him stuff like deodorant, conditioner and some candy. He told me he'd just finished a sale, so he wanted the money to go to a good cause. I almost broke down crying, because the owner of the hotel and his son make fun of him and treat him badly, but he's actually decent and caring. Later that evening, a man and a social worker came and took him to the new institute with the lady who was going to accompany him and drop him off. He looked so scared and I felt so broken because I know the system, and it has to have been so bad for him to be taken away from home to an institute and then have that place closed down due to negligence and abuse, and be taken away from all you know to a new start. We live in a small town in which troubled kids are moderately safe on the streets. It takes a village and all that. And we have many projects in place such as tutoring, sports clubs, all-day school with free lunch and afternoon snacks, but it's going to be different in a big city. Today I feel so alone against the whole world. I just couldn't hold it in anymore, and I don't want to depress any friends or family. I am sexually attracted to my sister, and it's ruining my life. Throwaway, of course, my sister 16 and I, 17, have been very close our entire lives. We have an older brother, 19, and a younger brother, 15, but we're the only two siblings who ever really got along. Our parents are not exactly around all the time either. They're either busy with work or other commitments they have. When they are home, they're rarely emotionally available, let alone approachable. Because of this, my sister and I rely on each other far more than any siblings should have to. To start, my sister is objectively attractive. Even though we're family, I think anyone with eyes and a brain can tell she's beautiful. But that's not what really started my attraction to her. What attracted me most is our emotional connection. Even at a young age, my sister would come to me before she would go to our parents, about almost anything. They would just get angry, disappointed, or not care. I made sure she knew how much I cared. I remember many nights when we were much younger, where she got scared and would crawl into bed with me, cuddling all night. Then, just before wake-up time, she would sneak back to her own bed, nobody knowing what had happened. I won't get into every little detail of her life, but there are so many things I know about her that, in any other family, parents or guidance counselors should have handled, not me. This type of relationship goes both ways too. Every problem I have goes straight to her. She's the only person I felt comfortable telling when I was sexually assaulted 4 years ago, for example. I knew anyone else I told would get the cops involved, but not her. She's kept my secret tight-lipped ever since. This isn't the worst thing in my opinion. A little unhealthy, sure, but not life-ruining. The thing that's really getting to me is our boundaries. For example, she doesn't attempt to cover herself the same way around me as she does anyone else in our family. Like in the mornings, if it's just us, she'll hop around in nothing but underwear and an old t-shirt, but then get pajama pants and a hoodie the second anyone else gets up. If our parents are gone, she'll gladly come in and take a shower while I'm in the bathroom, or just walk in while I'm showering. Our shower is glass, by the way, so we can see everything. Physically, there are also some moments. If she needs to wake me up, she'll jump on top of me and pretend to beat me up. If we're having a chat, oftentimes it takes place in her bed and we end up cuddling or holding one another. Definitely outside of what I would call acceptable sibling contact. Recently though, there was one experience where I feel a line was crossed. A couple months ago, I was awoken by her getting into my bed in the middle of the night. We haven't done this in years, but I didn't think twice and let it happen. I won't go into detail out of respect, but there was lots of skin contact. We did not make sexual contact. I feel that if I continue down this road, the outcome will be disastrous. I started talking with a therapist. I moved an hour away to my grandparents so I wouldn't be in the same house with her every night. I'm trying my best to resist my attraction, but I feel the distance is only making it worse. Hopefully after a while it starts to fade. That's what I was told will happen by my therapist. Although he doesn't actually know any details of what really went on. Thanks for letting me get this off my chest. My boyfriend, who's 25, told me that my sister made him feel more comfortable with the additional feminine energy as an explanation for his sudden friskiness. Me and my boyfriend don't have sex. We used to, and then he stopped on account of his mental health and alcoholism. Or so he says. We have sex a few times a year, and he never gets it up and never finishes. It bothers me immensely, and sometimes we talk about it. My sister, who's 18, lives out of town, and once a year she comes to my house for a week and we spend time together. This year was our 4th annual week together, but the first time my boyfriend's been there since he moved in. During that week, my boyfriend would crawl into bed drunk and immediately start making out with me and feeling me up. I cursed his bad timing because I felt weird about fooling around with my sister in the guest room, but he was insistent and I was weak-willed. Anyway, the week finished and my sister went home and I was so excited to have the house to ourselves and nothing. It's been 3 months since then, still nothing. I asked him about his sudden lack of desire late once when he was drunk, and he said that my sister added a feminine energy to the house that made him feel comfortable. I can only assume that means I'm not feminine enough for him. My sister is thin and fit and I'm not. And I wonder if he thinks thinness is more feminine. She's fresh out of high school and doesn't make much money, whereas I'm the breadwinner. I don't know why he said that, but it makes me hate everything about myself. So anyway, I'm down 30 pounds and I think I'm falling out of love with him. I find myself dreading kissing him. Edit. Thanks everyone for your advice. Though most of you just said what I think I knew deep down, that this relationship was never serving me and I got to cut my losses. I'm going to make a plan and hopefully break up in the next week or so. My 11-year-old daughter saw my husband with another woman but begs me not to tell him. I don't want to betray her trust, but I need to address it. How? English is not my first language, so please forgive me for errors. My 41-year-old husband owns a successful winery. The whole business is his. He doesn't buy grapes. He bought a huge land for it and grows it himself and also sells it to other winery business individuals who don't grow their own grapes. So for us, this is a huge thing. This winery is a very popular spot in our zone and people are always visiting, curious to see how the process looks like. I try to not be too jealous, but female tourists are always attracted to my hubby if he happens to be there. Usually his employees do the tour. At first I was even proud of having such an admired husband. I know they flirted with him lightly, but they were usually very young girls, early 20s. And I never took it seriously. We have an 11-year-old daughter who happened to be there with him on Friday, and she told me that she saw something that looked weird and she wanted to tell me. My husband and a woman were very close to each other and he put a grape into her mouth. She was very satisfied with it. My daughter also said that she put her hand on his shoulder and they both laughed and drank their wine alone. I thought this is a visitor, but my daughter said she doubts it as there wasn't a group. In the end, Long story short, she wasn't a visitor. She was the daughter of one of the guys he does business with, sells him the grapes. She cannot be older than maybe 24 or 25. My daughter begged me to not tell him anything because he will know she told me. But I can't sleep at night. I don't want to betray her trust. Nor do I want to make a big deal of this, but you think he might be cheating on me with her, or it was nothing?